Hey, welcome back. Today I'll be making a creamy, nutty, smoky bowl of stewed greens with beef and shrimp, a little bit of surf and turf. It's Ndolé from Cameroon. To get started, let's prep our greens. Typically you'd use the bitter leaves of a member of the daisy family, but those are hard to source without international shipping, so I'm opting for 3 bunches of spinach, roughly chopped. As well as a bunch of dandelion greens to add the characteristic bitterness. Now the stems are a bit thick and won't break down, so let's cut those off before chopping up the rest of the bunch and throwing them in a pot. Cover those all up with some water, about 2.5 liters. Season with a few good pinches of salt. And let's bring that to a boil covered for about 30 minutes. Now at the same time we want to boil some peanuts. Here I've got about 600 grams of raw peanuts without their hulls. Let's cover them up with water. Bring that to a boil as well, and cook them for the same amount of time, about 30 minutes. While those are both going, let's build a beef broth. So into yet another pot, pour about 2 tablespoons of oil. And once it comes up to medium-high heat, add in half a diced onion. Go ahead and saute that until it's translucent, at which point we'll add in some beef. I'm using 600 grams of oxtail, but you could use any cut of beef with a good amount of fat. Brown that slightly on both sides. Season it with salt. Then we'll add in about 1.5 liters of water, enough to cover it by about 2 centimeters. Reduce the heat to medium-low, cover it up, and let that simmer for 30 minutes. While those are going, take a moment to subscribe to my channel. I've got new recipes out every Sunday. At this point, our peanuts should be softened and ready for use. We're gonna make a puree out of these, so throw them in a food processor or a blender with whatever cooking liquid is left. Add in the other half of that diced onion, as well as a couple of Scotch bonnet or habanero peppers. I've just removed the stems and sliced them in half to help out the blender. And next add in 3 cloves of garlic. This garlic is fairly old, so I'm going to slice them in half and remove the germ. That's that central stem, to avoid any acrid notes. Sola El-Weli wrote a great article on Serious Eats that goes into depth on why we're doing this. Alright, now let's blend that into a fine puree, adding water along the way as necessary. And after removing the meat, we can add that to the beef broth. Give that a good stir and bring it to a simmer for a few minutes to let the flavors mingle before adding back in our beef. Next up, we're going to prep a West African staple ingredient, smoked fish. This will give everything a smoky umami note. So throw that in a bowl and cover it up with some hot water. After about 5 minutes, the fish should have softened up a bit, so let's remove the head, the fins, and any bones before tearing it up into bite-sized pieces and adding that into our stew. Now let's turn our attention back to the greens. They should be nice and soft by now, so let's strain them out and form them into balls. I like to transfer them into cool water so they're easier to handle. Add those balls to the stew and give them a good stir to incorporate fully. Finally, we can prep a topping for the stew, some sauteed shrimp and onions. So into a skillet, add a couple tablespoons of oil, and once it's hot, add in half a sliced onion. Saute those for a few minutes and then add in 1 serving, or however many servings you need, of peeled shrimp. Here I'm using the frozen, headless, easy peel variety for ease of peeling. And once those shrimp turn pink, we're ready to plate it all up. So I don't know where to begin on this one. There are so many flavors bouncing around inside my mouth, starting with this nuttiness from the peanuts, and it's all rounded out by a slight smokiness from that smoked fish. I feel like this would go really well with some grilled meat, and I intend to introduce it to my barbecue repertoire as a nice hearty side dish. So although you'll probably dirty every dish in the house making this, I do hope you give it a try, and if you do, let me know in the comments how it turned out. See you next time. Cheers.